I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to experience that. I wanted to choreograph. I wanted to do all these things. But very early on, I looked at a lot of my peers and my role models in the space, and I noticed that even after all this success, they really struggled financially. But 17 was a really challenging time for me. I graduated high school. All my friends were going off to college. I knew that I didn't quite fit that mold, and I kind of went into a depression for a while, not knowing what the next move was. I felt really stuck. So I found dance by accident. I found a gymnastics facility to train at, and they had some break dancers there. And break dancers were like, oh, you want to learn some moves? So I started learning some moves. And so I just kind of backed into dance out of boredom, essentially. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to force school. I'm not going to force a career that doesn't feel right. Let me just take a shot, load up my car, and move to LA and try it.
The thing that's really interesting about you that's so different than every other choreographer or dancer is that you really created these true businesses that are out of that category. I think there are three things that you say that really attribute to success. What are they?
Well,
in life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, guys, we're back for another edition of The Blueprint. And today I've got a very special guest for us. Matt Steffanina is in the house here, and we're going to have some great chat and really bring you a lot of value today. So let me tell you a little bit about Matt in case you don't know. So Matt grew up in Virginia as a competitive snowboarder, and he started learning how to dance at the age of 17 by watching dance videos, which is really interesting because that's what you do. After making a name for himself on the East Coast as a choreographer, dance instructor, and DJ, he literally packed up his Honda Civic and traveled in 2010 and traveled across the United States to Los Angeles, right? Alone.
yeah.
And despite the early struggles, including sleeping in his car, I want to find out how long you did that for, empty dance classes where it was just you learning dance and you're supposed to be teaching, he literally persevered and rose to become one of the top hip-hop dancers in the nation, amassing over 30 million followers, over 5 billion views, and his work with stars like Taylor Swift, Jason Derulo, Meghan Trainor. He's appeared in Step Up, So You Think You Could Dance, The Ellen Show, and many more things, and also founded Dancer Academy. It's DNCR, I think, .com, right? Four-letter domain, which is an online dance platform featuring LA's top performers and instructors. So in 2016, Matt won season 20. I remember when this happened. Season 28 of The Amazing Race. My wife and I watched that when you were in it.
Oh, wow.
And ahead of the curve, he's always been ahead of the curve. He also ventured into stock investing, house flipping, and crypto, including decentralized finance and NFTs. He's acquired notable pieces like Bored Ape Yacht Club and VFriends.
Well, I did your homework.
Yeah, we did a little bit of homework. Not as much as you do. We'll talk about that. And today, Matt is combining his passions for music, dance, and technology with new innovative projects. And that is something I really want to take a deep dive into today. So, Matt, thanks for making the trek, man.
Wow, quite the introduction, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, honestly, I had to shorten that up a lot. There was a lot there. But, hey, I want to start with this whole, here you are, a 17-year-old kid, and you pick up and you move across the country alone. And I assume when you got here, that's when you were sleeping in your car. But, what did your parents think about that? And what was that conversation like? And that commitment to just move and then not go back. Like, that's an incredible thing to do at 17.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually move for a few years later. 17 was when I started dancing. But 17 was a really challenging time for me. I graduated high school a little bit early. All my friends were going off to college. I knew that I didn't quite fit that mold. I just wanted to create my own stuff. I wanted to make moves, but I was in a really small town. And I kind of went into a depression for a while, not knowing what the next move was. I felt really stuck. So I found dance by accident. Actually, I was a snowboarder, competitive snowboarder, like you mentioned. And in the summer, you can't snowboard, obviously, especially in Virginia. So I found a gymnastics facility to train at.
Ah.
And they had some break dancers there. And break dancers were like, oh, you want to learn some moves? So I started learning some moves, went to a party that summer. Nobody was dancing. I was like, let me get some of my break dance moves together, busted out some break dance moves. Everyone was like, oh, had a great time. And so I just kind of backed into dance out of boredom, essentially. And so, I'm still like 17, now I'm 18, still trying to figure out what I want to do. I learned how to DJ for fun. I became a personal trainer, got my certification, but nothing was really making me happy because I just felt stuck in Virginia. And, every time I would walk into a dance class or walk into a party and DJ, I felt this energy that I was helping people. I was bringing this energy. I was having fun myself. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to force school. I'm not going to force a career that doesn't feel right. I'm young. Let me just take a shot, load up my car and move to LA and try it. And, to my parents' credit, they were really supportive. They were a little confused because I'd only been dancing for a couple of years at this point. I wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But, they had gone to school. They got degrees. They got good jobs. And they weren't necessarily happy in those jobs. And they ended up changing their path anyway. So they were like, look, at the end of the day, do what makes you happy. We'll support it. So I was really grateful for that. But yeah, man, moving to LA, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It doesn't matter how good you are, what field you're in. In my case, I was in a very competitive field and I wasn't that good, so it made it even harder. But, I moved out here with no plan. I did sleep in my car on and off the first few weeks. I'd find some people and be like, hey, can I crash? I was just trying to figure it out. I was on Craigslist. I ended up finding an apartment about a month in. Not a nice one, but, for $500 a month, sharing a little corner, Valley Village.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, that was it. I gave myself a year. Because I felt like to say I'm going to move to LA and become a professional dancer was so far out of my grasp that felt almost unattainable. But to say I'm going to move to LA and see what happens for a year and just go as hard as I can, that felt attainable. I can do it for a year.
Sure.
And then worst case, I'll move back, and so I kind of gave myself a little bit of a stepping stones, an easier path at the beginning. But I went as hard as I possibly could, and I really did put in the effort over that year.
Did you ultimately, during that year, did you get dance jobs? Were you hired?
So, what's crazy is right when I moved, I got a job almost instantly. It was dancing on The Tonight Show. That was when Jay Leno used to still host it. And this is like a month in LA. And I get booked on this job. And the reason I got booked is because they needed a white guy that could double as Jay Leno, that had to be over 6 feet, that had to have the same complexion as him, had to be able to do a backflip and a windmill. There's only probably about 3 guys in all of LA that fit that criteria.
Right.
And I happened to be one of them and fit the mold. So I got really, really lucky out the gate. Instantly boosted my confidence. I'm like, man, LA is great. You show up, they got jobs for everyone.
Right.
And brought my mom out. She watched the show. We met Jay. It was the best time ever, right? And then for the next 8 months, I didn't book not one single thing, just was burning through money on rent, paying for training because I was taking a lot of classes, working on getting an agent, all of the things that you're supposed to be doing. And that's when it set in like, okay, I did get a little lucky on that first one. And basically right as I was about to run out of money at the end of that 1 year mark, because I'd saved up a little money, I knew what I needed to do, budgeted everything. Right as I was running out of money, I actually went to a course that was, I would say, modeled in a way off of like a Tony Robbins type of a thing, right?
Okay.
Like getting your mindset right, working through your baggage, what's holding you back from your goals, that type of thing. And it was like $1,000 for the weekend. I was like, I need to do something. I'm running out of money. I'm running out of kind of faith here. I did that and really got my mindset right. And right before I ran out of money, I booked a cruise ship job that was a month long, gave me enough to get through the next few months. And then from there, they just started coming in. I booked So You Think You Can Dance. I got to dance with Snoop Dogg. I booked a background thing in a Chris Brown music video. And all this time I was working on my YouTube channel, but this was pre-YouTube blow up, right? So you couldn't monetize. There was no money in YouTube. But I was just building it, making videos. And slowly but surely, YouTube started to gain some traction. And it was like this snowball effect that just, when it hit, it was crazy.
And you saw it coming because you were able to take, you were so in tune with it, you were able to take that momentum and parlay that into a really big career, which many others, and I'll include Casey in that, just with regard to the, being able to monetize online, haven't been able to do that. And by the way, when I say Casey, Matt and my daughter Casey have known each other for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But you're right. That was really, really early on in YouTube, because if I think back, I'm trying to remember the year. Casey was 10 years old when we posted her work video. And I think it was right after that time. And that really wasn't something, like monetization really wasn't a big thing back then for YouTube. So for you to have seen that momentum coming and then parlay that into something else. But I'm just curious, when you say you moved here and you were taking dance classes, who are you taking them from?
Oh man, I pulled up to Millennium, the OG studio. That's actually where I met Casey. I remember she took my class there back, I think, in 2012. Funny enough, it was a Wednesday, 2 p.m., and I remember the song I taught to Trey Songz. That's how good your daughter is, just so you know, that when she was 12, 10 years ago, I remember everything about that day, because I was like, who is this kid? She's unreal. But yeah, I pulled up to Millennium. That was my favorite studio. It was a studio that I watched on YouTube when I was putting out my videos, right? And I just started training, and I went to Debbie Reynolds, which is another famous studio in town. I went to The Edge. I went to all of them.
But who were the choreographers you were taking
Oh, man,
classes
back
from?
then, it was Sean Evaristo, who worked with Bieber a lot over the years. Marty Kudelka, who's Justin Timberlake's choreographer. Napoleon and Tabitha, Nappy Tabs, who've worked with pretty much everyone under the sun.
Yep.
All the OGs that I really looked up to and respected, and that was enough for me. At the time, I was just so thrilled to get the chance to dance with them, because you mentioned that I learned from watching videos. I pretty much learned in my bedroom. So to be in one of the greatest studios in the greatest city in the world training, I was broke, but I was ecstatic. I was so happy to be here.
It's a little surreal thinking back to those times, because dance, in my opinion at least, just seeing Casey go through kind of her career, that was really kind of the height of the awareness and growth, and just everything was about dance. Now it's still out there, obviously, but there was just so much attention to it. It was, there were so many shows about dance, and, it just really taken off. So your timing was really good with regard to that. But, you've had this thing that you put out there for people about success and actions. And I think there are 3 things that you say that really attribute to success. What are they?
Well,
my advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
going back a little bit too because I want to touch on monetization.
Yeah,
you
go
talked
ahead.
about that and everything, and I think it's really important that when you want to do something especially artistic, you think about the monetization part early. And so part of the reason that I moved to LA is, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to experience that. I wanted to choreograph. I wanted to do all these things. But very early on, I looked at a lot of my peers and my, I guess, role models in the space. And I noticed that even at 30, even at 40, even at 50, even after all this success, they really struggled financially.
Yeah.
And that's still true, unfortunately, to this day, is that 99% of professional dancers, when they stop dancing, do not have a 401k, do not really have a next step, do not have a plan. And the few that are lucky enough to keep going beyond that, they're still kind of paycheck to paycheck or tour to tour. And so really early on, I realized that, okay, I can love to dance as much as I want, but I need a plan that's not book a few music videos, choreograph a few things, and then what? And so from the day that I got to LA, I was already thinking, what's the way that we turn this into a career? What's the way that we take this to a different level? And YouTube was one of a few different things that I was testing. It happened to be the one that did the best, and so I really ran with it. But I think especially since this is the blueprint, and we're talking about building businesses and building ecosystems and communities and things like that. I always tell, especially like my students and the kids that I teach and stuff, like I teach them about whether it's social media, whether it's building a business, whether it's being a choreographer and a leader, or having a community and not just being a backup dancer. I think that idea is really important to instill early on, because otherwise it's so easy to get caught up late in the game and be like, okay, now what?
Yeah, for sure. That's really astute of you at a young age to kind of recognize that you need to build a career out of it, and not just live from job to job where you're going to get the next job, because as you said, that's an epidemic. I mean, that's the majority of people that you've worked with and seen kind of grow up and dance. That's a position they find themselves in. And so I know I was going to wait a little bit later for this, so let's dive a little bit deeper into it. I know like 5 months ago you made an announcement. And you said, Mike, if you want to bring it up here, it's you had said, it's on his YouTube. It's toward the end, I think. No,
yeah, that's case.
Go back. I
Maybe
can't.
that.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
I think it's that one. So yeah, you made this announcement. Go ahead and start playing that. Just the first part. This was tough for you.
There's something I have to tell you guys that I can't hide anymore. After 17 years of making dance videos and over 30 million followers, this just doesn't make me happy anymore. And I'm going to make a big change. But to explain what that change is and why I'm doing it,
thanks.
I want to take you back.
So yeah, this was tough for you, because this really kind of drew a line in the sand. And so you learned early on how to monetize. I think you said you have 7 streams of income. Dance income is the least of your earnings, which I understand. So I want to get into those, but this is, I think, a pivotal time in your career and in your life, and you're living it right now. And it's like you want to have impact on other people, right? And help them to do what you've done, because you have created the blueprint for taking something that's an art that doesn't really get recognized or monetized like it really should, and turning that into something that's not just a career, but it's financial success and independence and freedom that will last you the rest of your life, right? This is not going to end for you. Like, even if you stopped making money today, you've made enough where you could just invest and do other things with it. So tell me about that then. What is this next step? Like, what are your plans? Have you fully developed them? How are you going to help other people to do the same thing?
Yeah, great question. Well, I think my skill, if I had to narrow it down to one strength that I have, it's not dancing, it's not making videos, it's not any of that. It's trusting my intuition whenever I know that something is going to be big, and going all in on it. And that's the one thing that I've been able to consistently do that I would say attributed to my success, right? A lot of people were dancers. A lot of people saw YouTube. We all saw YouTube, right? The only difference is I saw it and I was like, I feel like there's something here.
Yeah.
And I dove into it fully, right? TikTok came around. Everyone's like, TikTok's corny, TikTok's this, TikTok's that. I was like, I'm not really a fan of it, but there's something here. Went fully into it, right? 2017, learned about crypto. I was like, I don't quite get it, but there's something here. Dove down the rabbit hole, tried to convince all my friends to get into it. No one wanted to. Here we are, right?
Yeah.
Real estate, 2017, 18, I was like, guys, the housing market is really underpriced right now. You can get a loan for 2%. Real estate's really good right now. Went into it, right? And so the pattern is, and I have mistakes that I've made along the way too. It's not like I've hit every single time, but when I have that feeling of something needs to change or there's a better way to do something, I try to always follow it and I try to go really hard into it. And lately I've just had the feeling that on the content side, on the social media side, I'm trying to force a square peg into a round hole, right? The space got really saturated over COVID. Short form content kind of took over. Everyone was sitting at home. So anyone with an idea and a phone became a content creator, became an influencer. And so the space is harder than ever to break into. And the algorithms also shifted to where your followings don't mean as much as they did before,
Absolutely.
right? You can now blow up with 1,000. I have a company also where I help people grow their social media following. And what's incredible about it is I have an account with 1,000 followers on TikTok, a video game, a crypto game that I'm helping them grow their account. I got them a video with 12 million views in 1 week on an account with 1,000 followers.
Yeah, it's a completely different. Maybe pause there for a second and just tell us how it's different now than it used to be.
Yeah,
specifically.
So take it back 5 years pre-TikTok, right? Because this is really TikTok is what changed all of this. If you had 1 million followers on YouTube, that meant equal to probably 100 million followers on TikTok in today's time would be the equivalent. Okay. That's how difficult it was to get 1 million followers on YouTube, subscribers, right? There's no short form, there's no shortcuts. Getting 1 million subscribers on YouTube took most people a decade, right?
Yep.
Now, I have a friend with 30 million subscribers on YouTube that he got in a year. He doesn't even post his face. He just stole people's video game clips from other things. He put funny text on it and he posted, he calls it a faceless channel. He posted his shorts, 30 million subscribers, 17 billion views in 18 months, right? He figured out how to hack the system and, you know, maybe it's a little unethical.
Can you monetize that?
Yeah, you can monetize them. And so the point is there's all these ways that the game have changed, right? So now the algorithm favors content that gets good watch time. That's it. If your watch time is high on a short, if people are watching it twice, then it's going to get pushed out. I have shorts with 350 million views that I would argue aren't very good.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, people are watching them on average 1.63 times. So the algorithm's like, we're just going to keep pushing this until it stops performing and stops keeping people on our site, right? So in seeing the algorithm do that, I started to notice like my value having 30 million followers, still good. I still get on average way more views than a page with 1 million followers for sure. So there's absolutely value there. But the power shift is coming a little bit closer than it was before. And so my value as a creator is slightly less, but my value as an advisor to help other companies figure out how to do this, because I know the system is incredibly high right now, right? Because me getting myself another 30 million views doesn't really do that much for me. But me getting a company that's never had more than 5,000 views, 10 million views, they'll pay an insane amount of money for that because they were trying to do it with ads and they were spending $100,000 a month to get not even real viewers, organic, you know, that's funneling back to real subscribers. So a lot of what that video was about was me acknowledging to myself, also to my community, but to myself that I was on a treadmill. I was on a hamster wheel that was not paying the same returns for the time I was putting in as it had the previous. I've been on YouTube 17 years, Brad. A long time, right? So, you know, I really felt that like this just isn't worth it anymore, the way that I'm doing it. And I need to find a new way. So I shifted the YouTube channel to be focused more on storytelling, things that I was more fulfilled by, because, you know, when you dance to music on YouTube, you don't get to monetize it. Right.
Now, you early on realized that, and if I remember correctly, because I think you were talking to my wife about this at one point because she shared it with me, you first started fooling around with maybe speeding up the music, slowing down the music, and it was working for a while, and then it stopped working, and you're like, screw it, I'm just going to do my own music, right?
Yeah.
Is that so? And you start creating your own music.
Man, I tried everything.
Yeah.
I'm much like you, I'd imagine in your business, I'm pretty relentless when I have an idea. I'm like, I'm going to figure it out, right? So, yeah, music, your videos would get blocked. I actually had one of my YouTube channels, my original one, deleted. And I had to start from zero. So the 14 million subscribers, this was actually my second channel.
Wow.
But yeah, the record labels were just ruthless with the copyright claims. So I was speeding the songs up. It was something like if you sped it up over more than 3%, the content ID didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
So I was getting away with it like that for a while. Then they found it. Then it was changing the pitch.
Yeah.
And then I started re-recording the songs and reproducing them. It's actually part of the reason I got really good at producing, thankfully. So I remade a Drake song, and it was she said, "Do you love me? I tell her only part God's plan." I remade it, the beat. I did the vocals, and people thought it was Drake.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily consider myself that great of a rapper, but I'll take the compliment.
Right.
But it got away with it for a while, and then people started being like, "No, I think this is Drake." And then they said it was Drake, and they called it Content ID, right, or whatever. They copyrighted it. So I literally tried everything, and eventually now I do produce my own music and dance to a lot of my own music. But at the end of the day, like, you know, we all understand the YouTube game and the social game. Me dancing to the brand new Drake song or Justin Bieber, Beyonce song is obviously going to perform way better than me dancing to my own song that's not yet famous when I'm not known as an artist. So it's give and take. You know, like I know some videos are just going to blow up because a song is popping. I'll leverage that title. I'll leverage that song just like you would for a clickbait, you know, podcast clip. Take the best moment, boom, you know. But other times I'm like, no, I really want to monetize this video. I'm putting a lot of money in it, and I need to recoup in order for this to make sense.
Sure.
So I'm either going to strike a deal with the label, which now they will do for certain songs, after
So
more
you
than a
developed
decade
direct
of,
relationships with some of these labels then?
Yeah.
How did you start that? How did you make that first connection?
Yeah, originally it started out pretty ugly. They were mad at me for dancing to their music. And, you know, they would take my videos down, and I would just every time write a message, DM, Twitter, like write up a tweet to tag them in everything and try to reach them on every channel and be like, look, you know, guys, the video that you just took down, deleted off YouTube, has 35 million views.
It's free advertising for them.
You're paying to
The
advertise
lack
your
of-
song on the radio, on Sirius XM. You're paying for placement on these playlists, on this and that and with that. I'm giving you 35 million views free.
You're just kind of shaking them, going, "What?"
And you're blocking it.
You're looking at it wrong. Like
crazy.
YouTube is paying me to market your song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It's hard to
absolutely
understand. But you
absurd.
got through to them.
Yeah,
some of
after
them.
about 7 years
Okay.
of that.
Long time.
And you know what's crazy is it was such an internal battle because the music industry got flipped upside down by streaming.
That's
right. And so they were obviously coming off of that whole, you know, incident that they were not happy about. So they were sort of reaching for straws. They were just being very aggressive with their takedowns, with everything. And in doing that, they really missed a lot of opportunities, you know. And so what would happen is some of the younger generation at the labels would be like, hey, man, we get it. You know, we're going to give you some budget. We want you to make more content. Can you also do this? Can you also do that? And then their higher ups or their legal department or whatever would go and take the videos down and be like, no, we're not doing that.
Interesting.
You know? And so even internally, they were having this almost like generation gap that just couldn't understand that, hey, whether we like it or not, this guy's giving us free promo. And he might not have used our song with the part that we wanted and said the message, you know, whatever. But like, guys, it's unreal how much we're getting. It's working, right? So yeah, it took a while for those two parties to kind of communicate. But, you know, again, it's just about being on the leading edge. It was like, it wasn't working yet, but I knew at some point the record labels were going to be like, why are we paying all this money to these radio stations that are not even reaching our target audience when this guy's got these viewers that are literally 15 to 22 that are going to buy the tickets and go to the show. They're Justin Bieber's fans.
Audience.
And eventually they were like, okay, we get it now. Who do we give this budget to? And I was there waiting, and it worked out amazingly.
So
well,
how
you
do
know?
others that are in that same position, even today, where they're not able to monetize on a song that they've got something that goes viral, they did a great dance or choreographed a great piece to it, and they get nothing out of it? Like, how do they make those same connections that you did? Is it easier today to reach out to those labels and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this song. Can you help pay for it, or can I monetize on it?
Yeah.
How do they do that same thing?
It's easier and it's harder today. It's easier because the labels are looking for people like that to promote their songs. It's harder because it's saturated. There's a lot of competition, right? So there's a few ways to do it. You can literally tag the label, tag the artist in posts that you do. If you're a smaller creator, it is going to be difficult because you have to build that following. But there's also a lot of opportunities in working with smaller artists with smaller budgets and kind of working your way up. You know, also every label has their flagship artists, you know, their A-list artists, and then they have their artists that they're just getting going. And those are the ones that they're really desperate for content on. So if I was a up-and-coming creator with a smaller following and I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull the budget for the new Beyonce song or anything like that, but I really wanted to work with, you know, Universal, Sony, and Warner, the big three, I would research who are the new artists that they're really pushing, who are the artists that they're putting their marketing budget behind, who are you seeing ads for that you're like, who is this person? I've never seen them before. And then maybe pick one of their songs and do a few videos to it, and then DM those to the label, tag the label in those, because those are the videos that are going to break through to them more than another video to Drake's new song. They're not going to see that, right?
And so let's just breaking that down practically. So let's say that somebody follows that advice and they tag and they get a response. Is somebody reaching out to them like in a DM and saying, hey, connect with me, here's my email, here's my phone number, we want to work something out with you? Or what's kind of the next steps in that? What would they do?
Yeah, it's really the Wild West still, you know.
So there's not like a formula for this, but I would imagine at your point, you know, where you're at, you have direct connections with people. You have the names, you have the phone numbers, you have.
Yeah. So a lot of times they will just literally reach out in the DMs. That's how it started for me, and that's still really common, right? Is someone from, you know, you have to remember too, Universal's the parent company, but underneath them they have tons of smaller labels, right? All these smaller labels, and then under those ones they have all these smaller artists, and the spiral goes down really, really deep, right? So you might not get reached out to by Sony Music Group. You might get reached out to by a subsidiary. Sure. And you look them up and you're like, oh, shoot, they're connected to Sony, right? Yeah. And so you have to sort of plant these seeds. Often what they'll say is like, hey, we loved your video. You know, we have this new song by the same artist that we're doing next month. Yeah. Would you be down to make a video for it? Right? And you say, oh, yeah, for sure. I got this idea. Great. Oh, we love it. And you build this relationship. And the hope is that eventually they say, hey, we got this other one. And you say, like, what's the budget for this project? I've kind of proven myself a few times here, right? But you have to understand the creator market, that it's not easy to come out the gate and demanding budget or a rate or to be paid for something until you've really proven that value and have a solid track record. Yeah. So a lot of creators will get frustrated and be like, you know, oh, I heard they're paying so-and-so $5,000 to do a video. And, you know, it's like, yeah, but, you know, some of us made 5,000 videos for free before we ever got the first paid one. And you don't really see those, right? Or in my case, I made, you know, probably 1,000 YouTube videos that I paid a videographer and an editor. I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into my YouTube channel over the years before I started to see a return. Yep. And so you have to think of it just like a business. You know, when you're a creator, you have to think of it as a business. For a while, you are going to lose money. Yep. You're going to put money into this thing, and you are not going to see it. That's right. And you're not going to see it potentially for a year or two. But if you do see it and you start to get that momentum going, you have the potential to make infinite, no ceiling on it type of income, right?
Yeah, so, no doubt. You have to be tenacious with it. And that really is, that applies to any business, to anything that anybody gets involved in. If you want immediate gratification because you saw somebody that just got, and honestly, just got lucky, because there's a lot of those, right? There's a lot out there that they're the most visible. It's like, oh, you did this dance and then it blew up and now you have this, or like the hop to a girl and like those things, right? Like, oh, but it was so easy. That is just pure luck. It's like winning the lotto. Yeah.
I would say 99.999% of people that are successful online, it's not luck. Hawk to a, obviously there's like a once in a blue moon. Like that was just insanity. But, even if you see someone dancing and they're making some dance that's, not the best dance in the world, and you're like, they got lucky. If you go look at their page, they probably made another 500 videos
right.
doing dances that aren't that great too.
And have maybe
right?
100 views on them.
Exactly. And yes, you could argue, their talent doesn't equal the reward they got, but their perseverance was what pushed through.
Bingo.
Right. And so in almost every case, you can find the reason why that person is successful. And I think it's really important for people to understand, especially the younger generation, because if you're growing up right now and what you see online every day is just influencer gets this deal, so-and-so sold their company, views, this goes viral. Like, it's so easy to not understand what I'm thankful to understand, because I grew up a little bit ahead of that generation. Even your daughter, like Casey, she grew up knowing the importance of hard work and that it doesn't come easy. But if you're 16 right now and all you have ever seen is success on the internet, it is so difficult to understand that you might have to grind for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years before you get to a place where you're seeing even moderate or big success. That concept is really difficult for us to understand. And it's getting harder and harder for us to understand too, because we're just in this ADHD world where things come quickly. Especially my friends, that I got into crypto, they're like, man, why didn't you tell me about this sooner? And I'm like, well, I did, but also like, you hit hot moments, right? That, like, don't get used to this. Things go up and then they correct, and then there's a dead period and a cold market, and then it takes off again, right? It's like this world that we live in is very enticing for us to believe that things can come quickly and easily, and they can, but most of the time it takes that hard work.
The vast majority, like you said, 99.9% of the time, it's about the tenaciousness and it's about perseverance and just really pushing through when everybody else is giving up, right? So you do say that. You say the quicker you fail, the quicker you succeed, and that you've got to take risks. I've seen you talk about that a few times online. The 3 things to help you to become successful. What are they?
Yeah. The quicker you fail, the quicker you succeed is the way that I made it in dance, for sure. I just did everything until I had no other options. I would be the first person in class. I would be in the front, in the center, messing everything up so that I put that pressure on myself. And then, a few times later, I stopped messing up because I just got it out of my system right away. I think same thing with business. So many people talk about creating content. But I got this idea for this YouTube channel, and it's gonna, I'm gonna revolutionize this and that. And I'm just ordering that new camera. And then, I got the camera now, but like I need that microphone because of sound quality. And like I'm trying to get this editor. Gary Vee, his editor just quit, and so I'm trying to lock in. And then as soon as that happens, then I'm gonna It's just like story after story after story after story. And the person that succeeds is the one doing it with their smartphone, with the worst lighting, just getting the reps in, getting the ball rolling, and then they get the camera, and then they get the thing, and then they do this or that. And I think that's the number one thing that I would attribute to my success is just when I have an idea, taking action quickly. And it's not easy. Like, I still have things that I'm procrastinating on now. I'll give you a good example.
Please.
So we're talking about the future and where I'm focusing energy. I have been watching what's been happening with TikTok Live, TikTok Shop for a while. Everyone is starting to become aware of it. But I've been on every live platform that's ever existed pretty much. I have never seen anything happening like what's happening on TikTok Live right now. I think it's really incredible the way that they've built it out. I also think TikTok Shop is a marketplace. They have partnerships with Amazon, talking about partnerships with Walmart. YouTube Shop is now copying them. Instagram Shop is trying to copy. When you see a leader in the space doing something, it's the same feeling that I got about YouTube 17 years ago, where I was like, this is worth the investment of time. And so I felt the energy there. I felt the quicker you fail, the quicker you succeed. And I've been putting it off for almost a year now because things have just been so busy, which is a great excuse, but still not an excuse. So next week, finally, I'm launching a clothing line on TikTok Shop and also on Amazon, also going to be a bunch of other places. But the focus is there because I want to either fail quickly or succeed quickly. And I think that, I was catching myself doing the same thing of like, when I have time, after Q3, things will chill out and I'm going to do this. And I just realized that I didn't have the bandwidth to do it 100% myself. So I found a partner that filled in some of the gaps that I didn't, gave equity, made sense for both of us, win-win. Actually brought in a third partner as well. And finally am making that happen and taking action. But, you know, I say that to say that I can preach that all I want. I still have to hold myself accountable and realize, like, can we curse on the show?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Okay.
Go for it.
Didn't know how family friendly we were. But like, I caught myself this summer doing that, being like, oh, as soon as I find the right thing, then I'm going to, and then as soon as I was like, no, I'm fucking up here. Like, what am I doing? Like, make it happen. Find a way to make it happen. And, you know, we'll see if in a year I'm saying that was the best move I ever made, or like, wasn't it? But either way, I'm going to learn from it.
You wouldn't know if you don't do that.
Either way, I'm going to learn from it. Maybe it's the right timing, wrong product. Maybe it's the right product, the wrong avenue. But like taking those shots on goal and taking them as early as possible and just mitigating the risk. Like with this, the risk potentially is if I put a massive amount of time, maybe I invest a ton of money to design it, right? Maybe I put all my eggs in this one basket. So I mitigated that by doing print on demand out of the gate. I found a print on demand supplier that can do streetwear.
Oh,
really high end, like incredibly high end.
In the States, or is this
in the States?
That's
in the
great.
States and in China.
Okay.
Right. So obviously it's more expensive, it's print on demand, but I have no upfront risk because I don't have to hold inventory. I don't have to buy in bulk.
That is the biggest
risk.
risk.
Zero risk. Profit margins considerably smaller, but no risk. So great. Time and energy, found some people to do the things I'm weak at, gave them equity so that I'm not paying out of pocket.
Smart.
Zero risk, right? And I just, every problem, every hurdle that I was like, oh, I can't do it right now because of this and that, I finally sat down and I did it. I'm like, okay, thank God. Like, stop being a bitch. Like, just do it, you know?
And the reality is, it might take you a year or 2 or 3, and then again, it's all about the perseverance and the patience. But you, just like you, I see this social shopping like just literally taking off, especially in the last couple of months as we ramp up into the holidays. I mean, our feed's full of it, right? And like all these new things coming out now, TikTok is way ahead of the curve here, and we'll see what happens with, you know, them getting
January
shut down.
19th is the big day.
There was an interview with Trump just the other day where he was asked, "Are you going to save TikTok?" And before he answered that question, he said, "Well, I did really well on TikTok, you know, and I got to the youth, and we increased by 30%." So I think that at least
he
we got
does
that
understand
going
the power of it.
He understands, you know, and of course there's a concern about control and that sort of thing, but I think something gets worked out there, hopefully.
I feel like there might be a middle ground where there are some privacy restrictions put in place and some things.
And some transparency. And whether it's bringing in a U.S. company to do that ownership or not, but you know, the hope is that it'll get worked out because, you know, really they're the cutting edge. And although there will be something else to take its place, you always need that one company to push, you know, to push ahead and push a guide so that, and everybody seems to follow when it works. But that said, TikTok Live, I want to ask you about that because most people don't understand it, and there's different facets to TikTok Live. Are you familiar with the battling side of TikTok Live?
Yeah.
Okay, is that what you're referring to or something else?
It's one element of it, yes.
Because, okay, so my son does this, and he's done really well. He's been doing it for a year. He doesn't even like to talk about it because his main thing is he does real estate, but he does this. It's like he's created a job out of this. And not when he first started, but shortly after when he started getting traction, he tries to tell me about it. I'm like, what the hell? Like, huh? This doesn't even make any sense. Why are people giving you money? And he kind of explained it to me, and I do understand it a lot more now about, hey, if you give, you get, and all that sort of thing, and it increases your visibility. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because I think for most people, they have, A, no clue it exists, or B, it's in their feed, and they're like, what the hell is this? Why? People are like sending gifts, and like, what does that mean? And the fact that it gets monetized, and to what extent this gets monetized. So if you could take a second and tell us what you know about the battling on TikTok Live. Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show.
battling on TikTok Live is one of the most confusing things that I have ever seen in my life. The first time I looked at it, and that's coming from someone who's been online creating content for almost 20 years. Exactly what you explained is true. It makes no sense until you dive a little bit deeper, right? So essentially what it is for anyone that doesn't understand is when you go on TikTok, you can just do a live stream by yourself. You can talk, you can sell products, you can do all the normal stuff. Or you can bring on someone else. So you're in a split screen and it's called a battle. And essentially you have this timer that counts down 5 minutes, and whoever gets the most donations within the 5 minutes wins the battle.
Yeah. And donations is like, they're like gifts. They're like, they're like hearts and diamonds and other things.
Right. They all have different monetary.
They all represent a real dollar amount. So just like you'd have a PayPal account or Venmo account or any of these others, you put money into TikTok and then you use that actual real money to deplete to buy these gifts that you're giving to somebody. So you're actually donating, like you said, that's a great description, to someone to help them win that battle.
Yes.
And they're receiving that. But here's the brilliant thing about it from the platform level is they're getting 50% of that.
Yeah.
It's just a huge split, right? Yeah. But why would somebody give a gift? Why would I watch you on a battle and go, shoot, I want Matt to win. I'm going to give him $5. I'm going to give him 10. Sometimes it's 50, 100. Why am I going to give you that money?
Yeah, because it's a considerable amount of money in some cases that people are donating. Well, there's two answers. There's the family-friendly, PG, very loving, great answer, which is you're giving me entertainment, right? If I go to an arcade and I put $10 in and I get some tokens and then I go play arcade games, I don't get anything from that. I got entertainment. I enjoyed my 30 minutes at the arcade playing games, and I say that $10 was well worth it, right? Same thing. If there's a creator, you just like their vibe, their energy, maybe they're singing or they're dancing, and that's why you like them over the other creator and you want to support them because they have a talent. Maybe they just are entertaining. They just, make you feel good, so you want to support them and whatever.
Okay,
that could be one reason.
Yep.
Reason two is you want something. Usually attention, clout, a relationship. There's all kinds of reasons why people might donate a lot of money to someone in order to get their attention, right? And that's where more of the crazy donations, when you hear about someone in one battle, in one 5-minute bout, giving $500 to someone.
Yeah.
Normally they're trying to get their attention for either a collab, or they're interested in them romantically, or there's something there, or they're a creeper, right? Absolutely. And you'll notice that people build these cult followings almost of people that support them for whatever reason. And
they're on their team.
They're on their team. And the thing that's crazy about this, though, that I didn't realize, so I tried it, right? Because anytime I see something and I'm like, I don't understand it, let's try it. Let's figure it out. Let's understand it.
Who did you battle the first time? Do you even know?
Oh, man. I battled everyone because
But do you know the person? Did you know the person you battled?
Well, okay, so here's what happens. I've never battled, right? And battling's been going on for a year or two. No, multiple years at this point. It's getting big. So when I pop up, everyone that knows me from any walk of life is like, oh, I got to battle this motherfucker.
Right.
He's on. But I have no team. I haven't built this, right? So people are coming in and they just want to destroy me, and it's all my buddies and stuff. So I was like, hold on, give me a second, So I built up my team, and I was like, look, guys, everyone's coming for me. They know I'm new here. I need your help.
Did you build up your team because you created posts? You said, hey, I'm going to go live at such and such a time. I'd like you to come.
Well,
how did you build your team?
I went live. People get notified when you go live because TikTok is trying to push their live feature. So as people are coming on the live, I'm like, look, I'm going to battle these people. They're all challenging me. I can see the requests coming through. And it's all the OGs,
Who's with
King
me?
Batch, my friend Julia, she's huge on live. She's incredible. She's actually the one that got me started on it. But all my OG, creator followers are crushing it. So I was like, I need your help. So I get my team together, and everyone's like, all right, we got you. So we go into a battle with King Batch, and Jason Nash was on there. It was a 2v2 or whatever. And my team, even though we were small, they were like, yo, we're down for you. And they're just like giving me gifts and this and this and this. And I'm like beating everyone.
Yeah.
I'm beating everyone. Obviously, it's not sustainable to do that like with just a few people. But like if you really create this energy where people want to support you and they got your back, they will donate to you because they're getting this amazing experience of working with a creator they love and supporting them. And I'm telling you this story right now, and they were part of it, you know? And I think like, if I think about someone that I looked up to as a choreographer or, you know, an artist, say like Drake, and I'm a 19-year-old and I love Drake, and Drake's like, yo, thanks man for the gift. Thanks for helping me win the battle. Yo, Johnny, like, I hope your music career does great,
Makes them
man.
feel
Like,
good.
yeah, like it is worth monetary value to people for that type of a thing, you know?
But there's a third reason. What's the third reason?
What is the third reason?
The third reason is if you are doing these battles and you're giving a portion of what you've made through them, you get elevated. You get an elevated status, and you get pushed higher in the algorithms because you're giving. Because who's getting 50% of that? TikTok is. That's the third reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the clout. You get badges, you get different.
The more you
types
give,
of
the more you
things.
get, type of thing. So you think about the brilliance of that, and you know who knows who came up with that at TikTok, but it is ultimately really brilliant, exclusive to TikTok. Nobody else really has something like that. Where
Well, the gamification of everything is huge in Asia, in China in particular. I lived over there for a few months many years ago, and I noticed that. I remember thinking they gamify everything. Everything is a game, and if you do this, you get a prize and a thing. And we kind of have it in America, like a rewards program, right? Like spend this much and get a thing. But there, it's everything is gamified. And so even like the shopping apps, I don't know if you ever use like Temu or Shein or any of these apps, right? As soon as you log on, it's like spin a wheel, you get a thing. You also get free socks. And if you buy a shoe, you get another thing and a thing. You're just like, wow, I won so much, right? It's like they did the same thing with TikTok. They made it so you come on, you give a gift. Oh, you win a thing. You got a this, you got a that. And it's so smart the way that they hook you.
So smart.
Give you that dopamine, just like another thing, another thing.
You know who else does that for shopping? And it's physical shopping? Kohl's.
Really?
You ever shopped at Kohl's?
Not in a while.
Okay,
but
so
maybe I gotta go
I think
back.
this will resonate with people that have been to Kohl's. So you go to Kohl's and you buy something, and you get on their mailing list, and all of a sudden in your emails and all this, you're getting 30% off, 40% off. So it gets you back in with this like deep discounts, and it doesn't apply to everything. Like the name brands don't get it, but they bring you back in the store. But then they give you Kohl's cash. So you buy X amount, and boom, next thing you know, you got $10 or $20 or $30 in Kohl's cash, and there's an expiration date. And so you're like, shoot, I've got like $40. I got to go get something. So you go in and okay, I used it. It's great. Man, I got this great, sweatshirt, and it was, $95, but I got it for $25. This is great. Next thing you know, you got Kohl's cash. Here's another $15. It's brilliant. So, very similar in gamifying, but they've done it in a way where they bring people back to the store. And so TikTok does that in a way of bringing you back into the platform and back into these lives. So I've seen my son go from literally like, no follower, or the followers he had were like Casey's followers, that latch on to, following us, right, to see what they can see about Casey. To now, I don't even know what his count is. I don't know, 60,000 or something like that. But he has a team. And that team comes every time he goes live. He's got these like regular people that come in and they help him to win the battles. And he's gotten to the point where he's like third in the nation, and that's that type of thing on live, because I guess there's rankings too. That's another element to the gamification of this. And then he's connected with these guys that are really big on live, like Jeffree Star and so forth. And so I see, and I'm like, man, this is real money. This is not some joke. This is like a real, but you got to put time into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time invested in it.
Yeah.
And he's done it where, kind of like you, this kind of, is reminiscent of what you did. And he's like, how can I make this into a business? And so he has a name for his team, and he developed a clothing line for the team, and he gives rewards to people and mails them stuff like sweatshirts and things like this for being on his team. So he's really kind of thought about how can I make this into something bigger that ultimately I could lead into something else. So that's the thing that really, for you, Matt, because, and I want to talk about some other things here because, we could probably really dive a lot deeper on this subject, but the thing that really, that's really interesting about you that's so different than, I'm just going to say, I was going to say just about everybody, every other choreographer, but probably is different than every other choreographer or dancer, is that you've really created these true businesses that are off, out of that category, and become very successful at it. And so I saw that one video, and I think we have that saved up here too, where you talk about the 7 streams of income.
Yeah.
Which one is that? Not that one. That's it right there. So you don't have to play it right now, but maybe tell us, what are those 7 streams? So you went from lowest to highest, and this is where I got where you said the lowest is actually earning money dancing.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think I want to kind of dive into like how you got into real estate investing, what you've done there, and then just kind of showing people the blueprint for going from, because there's a lot of people that are really, really well-known, popular dancers that get a lot of work. They work with a lot of celebrities and so forth, and they just haven't been able to parlay that into something that's going to last them forever. And so they literally are starting over every month. So knowing what you've done and giving that inspiration, I think can help them.
Yeah, as a dancer or an artist in general, I'll say you have moments in your career where you kind of get lump sums of money, right? It's not a 9 to 5. You're not on salary.
Yeah.
You come across big checks from time to time. I booked a tour. I'm going to have this coming in. I got a commercial. I'm getting residuals for this and that. And what I noticed is so many of my artist friends would have that check come in. They'd be like, we're going to the club, or I'm getting a new car, right? And then 6 months later, they'd be like, hey man, like, can you help me out with rent this month? And I'm like, bro, what about the 50 grand you got on this or that, right? And so I wanted to do something different with the money when it came in. I knew that wasn't quite the way. And so I started researching early on just everything I could, from investing in stocks. I went to a conference when I was 18. I talked about earlier how I was kind of lost when I was 18. Yeah. I asked my parents for my birthday to send me to a real estate conference. And it was about flipping houses. It was when the show Flip This House first came out on A&E. It's probably 2 decades ago almost. And those guys, it was like the Armando Montalongo, and Trump was speaking at it because he was in his real estate era, right? And I just started like really diving into these things. And I know that, when you're deep in your career and you're deep in your art, you might not have time necessarily to go to a real estate convention or flip a house or do all these things, right? So the things that I recommend to my friends are like, look, if you get some money, if you have some things coming in, don't spend it. Spend 10%, spend 20%, like buy yourself something nice, absolutely. Yeah. But figure out what to do with the next 80% that you can turn that into 3, 4, 5, 10x what it is now in the next 5 years. And that might be real estate, but it might not. Like if you're not getting a huge sum of money or the market right now, like I don't recommend anyone buys real estate right now unless you have a ton of money and you're thinking very, very long term, right? The rates are too high, the market's a little bit tapped. But there's some amazing options right now with stocks, with crypto. I personally am heavily invested into crypto right now because we know what the 4-year cycle looks like.
Where are you invested in crypto?
I am invested.
You have XRP?
I do have XRP. I've had XRP since 2017, baby.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I obviously hold a lot of the larger protocols. I hold Bitcoin, I hold ETH, hold a ton of Solana. I hold a lot of Doge because I think the attachment to Elon and the way he's pushing it right now, I think it'll continue to go up.
Doge?
Yeah. I think that it's going to hit a huge resistance at $1 because everyone has this Doge to $1 mentality. So I'm personally trying to get Doge to about 78 cents, and I'll hold a little more to like 85 cents.
Yeah.
If it gets past 90, I'm selling everything because I think at 90, somewhere around 85 to 90, it's going to hit a ton of resistance. But you look at narratives and you look at trends. the biggest place that I'm investing right now in the crypto sector is into AI. I think that everyone that was not involved in NVIDIA feels like they missed the boat.
Yeah.
They did miss the boat. I myself had a little too late. So I'm looking at where's the next AI play. And there are a lot of crypto companies that are doing insane things with GPUs, insane things with solving problems faster than even some of the Web 2 AI companies. And so money is going to funnel from Bitcoin and Ethereum and the big competitors. It's going to funnel from NVIDIA, which is kind of tapped out at $3 trillion. It's going to continue to do well, I think, but it's not going to 3x. It's not going to 10x in a year.
That
right?
may or may not be. Look at Tesla. People didn't want to put money into Tesla because there's not that much value in a car company. The multiples are ridiculous. But guess what? They're not just a car company. They're a robotics company now. They're doing all sorts of AI stuff.
So much of it is about narratives and trends and energy, right? And Tesla 4 or 5 years ago caught that wave of Tesla is going to be the next big thing. And they went 5x in 2 years, just absolutely exploded. And then reality sort of set in of okay, we love Tesla, but also we've overhyped it a little bit. And if you look at the last year, 2 years, it hasn't really gone up the last 2 years. It's kind of just been doing this. Now it's sort of set in a good place again. It's starting to pick up.
The robotic stuff especially.
Yeah. So anyway.
Tangent.
But I look at narratives and I look at where is the money going to go. I think that Bitcoin has had a huge run up. We're already seeing altcoins for people that are non-crypto are smaller coins, mid-sized coins. Every AI coin that I've invested in, except for maybe 2 out of 15 or 20, has 5 to 10x'd in the last month and a half. Because Bitcoin ran up to 100K. People are what's the next narrative? It's not really DeFi. That's kind of been metaverse, and that didn't really work out for us in 2021 very well. AI, NVIDIA, great. Okay, boom. And so they're all starting to push.
You using Coinbase for this?
No, I don't use. I don't really use Coinbase for anything. Just because most of these tokens are on decentralized exchanges, they're not on Coinbase, which is
so. What do you
why
use
I'm
as a trading platform?
I use MetaMask mostly to trade them. Some of them are on. Most of them aren't really, but the same thing has happened in 2020, right? It is the biggest wins that you had were the things that weren't on Coinbase yet, because you get them.
That was the difficulty at the very beginning of crypto, and like you said, it was kind of hard to understand and all that sort of thing at the very beginning. But it was also buying it. Where do you freaking buy this thing? And people were like, "Well, just do it through PayPal." But then, what do you mean through? You're sending money to somebody through PayPal and expecting them to, and there's so much fraud.
Don't do it through PayPal. Don't ever do it through PayPal. But there was never
really a set platform to be able to do this trading really early on. The people that were able to do that. It
was harder.
Made a fortune.
Yeah.
But they figured it out. There's not a mainstream platform that really gives you that kind of access.
Yeah.
That
it takes time, and obviously we can go down the rabbit hole.
You have a business built around this.
Yeah. My whole Twitter is purely Web3, which is crypto based. My brother and I have one of the biggest crypto gaming shows on Twitter. We do it every Monday. We're on episode 51 this week, so it's been a year straight.
This younger brother?
Yeah, younger brother. Got him into crypto a few years ago. He's incredibly smart.
So is that the Idiot Genius
side.
Social Club?
That's a different company.
Okay.
The show is called Simplified, and we try to make crypto gaming simple for people, essentially. But it's all of these are rabbit holes that we can go down. It's about when you find something you're interested in, really locking into 1 or 2 ideas around it. So the gaming show is an idea that my brother and I had to do. We saw that there's this white space. These crypto games are coming. They're incredible. There's a game called Off the Grid that just released early access about a month ago. And everyone says anything related to crypto is a scam. It's a joke. All these games that are trying to have crypto in-game currency, it's a scam, yada, yada, yada. This game came out, and they hired Ninja, Tim the Tatman, a few of the big streamers to play it. And they were all like, this game's fucking incredible. We would play this even if we weren't paid. This is the new game. We want to be on this. And all of a sudden, everyone went crypto gaming isn't so bad. Hey, crypto gaming could be the future, right? And so my brother and I, and the circle that we're in this sort of thing, we knew that eventually this would happen. It's inevitable. Like the games are good. It's just a narrative. It's just haters. It's just bad press. But when you have a great product and you have a bunch of bad press over it, eventually the great product breaks through. And that's what's going to happen here. So crypto gaming, crypto AI protocols, they are going to be huge. I have 100% confidence in that. And, could be wrong. But like, I personally believe it so thoroughly that that's what I've created that business around.
Yep. Makes sense. So okay, going back to the 7 then.
So
you've talked about
investing, whether that's stocks, crypto. I mentioned real estate. I had one of those events a couple years ago where I got a big lump sum of money from a project, and I put it into a house that I'm Airbnb-ing in Fort Lauderdale. I have a place in Miami and live out there part of the year. So put money into that and got that up and running. Currently, it's about breaking even. It's not making a ton of money for me. I got the mortgage is pretty high, but I'm going to refinance it. And I know that in 5 to 10 years, that property will probably be making 50 to 100K a year.
We'll help you with the refinance.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, that's a plant the seed and come back in 5 to 10.
Yeah.
When I do, I live in Miami, like I said, I have a car here. So when I'm not here, I have a buddy that has a luxury car rental company. He rents it out. Sometimes I put it on Turo.
Yeah.
Let him do that, right? So I have a little Turo side hustle, a couple cars. Those are things that when you get lump sums, like I'm saying, instead of blowing it at the club or blowing it, okay, I want to buy a nice car. Well, how can I get the car to also not just drain money, but hey, I'm going out of town for a month on this job. Instead of letting it sit in the driveway, why don't I rent it out to a friend or rent it out on Turo or do something with it, right? Just thinking about things like that. You mentioned
I want
also...
to pause there for a second, because one of the things that you said that I don't want to gloss over, because it's really difficult for one person to have the bandwidth for all that. But you said you have a friend that rents out cars.
Yeah.
And so, you don't get the same return that you would do as if you did it yourself. But you're getting return, and that's the key. And so you're leveraging by getting people to help you and filling in those spots that you don't either have the time to do, or you're not good at it, or you don't like doing it.
Yes.
And it seems that you've done that. You've taken that formula and repeated that in a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Offload everything you possibly can.
Yeah,
is huge. Take the slightly diminished return and save your time. Any time you can do it. That was something that was really hard for me on the content side, because I am a little bit of a control freak around like my edits and things like that.
So is somebody else helping you with the edits now?
Yeah, thankfully I have like 5 editors. And
dude, you have got crazy editors.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, Mike, I bring up Casey's interview. So, and I know this is part of like what you're going to kind of, this is probably one of the 7, but the next phase of your life. So you did a podcast and you had my daughter on it. And I watched this and I was like, God damn, I got to elevate our game. And she said, I think that you and her talked for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You did 20 minutes or 26 minutes of total impact. This was like, your team found some pictures I don't even remember ever seeing myself, and I was in 1 or 2 of them. And I was like, holy smackers. But you made it so entertaining. And so your team really, really did a great job.
Thanks,
it was
man.
so entertaining.
Yeah.
There wasn't a moment of it where you're like, oh, that's a little boring, whatever. Like it was really well done. So is this one of the 7, you doing, kind of these podcasts? And
doing monetizable content, right? Because we talked about it. So for so long, my videos never were monetized because of the music element. And I also just wanted to feel more fulfilled by my content. I still love to dance. Like I said in that video, I'm not happy dancing anymore and making dance videos anymore. It's because of the landscape. It's not because I don't like to still dance, right? It's because I don't feel fulfilled by it the same way, because things are suppressed and they're blocked and they're this and it's all the red tape.
Yeah.
But when I make a video like that and I get to share someone like Casey's story and people comment like, wow, I thought I was the only one going through this, or the way that you talked about this changed my perspective. Those comments make me so much more excited to film a video and put in we probably put in 10 hours of prep work into that video, and then the editors, working with me and a couple other people on the team. Like, it's a massive undertaking to do something like that.
Yeah,
So
it was a real production.
in the end, you want to feel not just like, oh, we monetized and we made back what it cost us to put in. Like, no, you want to feel like, wow, we did a great thing. We told the story. We did Casey's story justice. We helped people that are going through, like, that's worth it now, And so one of the streams of income is definitely create monetizable content, but it's create monetizable content that's fulfilling and that feels like I'm giving back in a way and using my platform in a great way.
And how about helping others to do the same thing? So, here's the reason I bring that up. And you talked a little bit about it, I've seen online, and I'm just really curious. And I think that this is still in development for you, but I'm just curious your thoughts on kind of the future for you and your goals. Based on that video you did 5 months ago, where that we're referencing, where you talked about, hey, it's time for a different chapter in your life. I'll use Casey as an example, but it could be X name replacing hers because there's so many of them. Even people she grew up with, created a lot of fame, have made money along the way, done well, and she's got me and her mom to help advise her, and we've gotten her into real estate and other things, and investing, and set her up so that she's not in a position where she's one of the starving artists that didn't make it all the way through her life. But she also hasn't done what you've done, and it's primarily because she's really an artist, and she's all three of my kids are awesome. We've done a great job with them, but they are just great humans. Casey's different. She's never said a cuss word in her life. She's never had a sip of alcohol. She's just, all she is about is helping people, and she doesn't think about the money side of things at all. Like, it doesn't matter to her. She didn't understand that it should matter, right? That life's a lot easier if you have some money and you're not worried about money every month. So when you're given the opportunity to not have to worry about money every month, then you need to take advantage of that. And I think that's really where artists management fails, complete fail. Because I know she's been through several managers. Not one has really taken a holistic approach of, how do we ensure that you're going to be set for life? And how do we really manage that into a whole financial picture? And how do we leverage the things that are doing well and invest in those and stop doing the things that aren't doing well? Really managing the career. That's what I think a manager should do. Otherwise, you're not a manager. That shouldn't be your role, right? And so is part of this next phase of your life to help others to kind of do what you've done.
Yeah.
And truly, like, maybe that's not the title, but manage, and they help manage them.
Well, there's two things that I'm doing. Personally, I'm not interested in managing. I am interested in helping and inspiring and kind of giving sort of the jump start to it, because management is a tough thing, right? It takes a really, really rare talent for management to not turn into babysitting. And, even people have been like, start a studio, do this and do that. I don't want anything that requires a lot of my time that isn't super, super scalable. I'm just really trying to make everything as efficient as possible, right? So I think that the biggest issue for artists is a lack of education more than a lack of discipline. And what I mean is that, like, you mentioned that Casey's a true artist. That's one thing that, for better or worse, I'm not. I was raised with parents that one was an accountant, one was a computer programmer. And so while part of me is like wildly creative and I love dance and I love music and I love creating and I love this and that, the other part of my brain is like, yeah, but what are you doing to make this make sense? So you're not killing yourself,
That's right.
right? And I'm very blessed to have both sides of that. Whereas I respect so much artists that are like, I'm going to sit here and paint this thing for 4 years, and if it never sells, it'll still be beautiful.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't have a part of my brain. I can't shut that part of my brain off enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But that's also the reason that I don't ever claim to be the best technical dancer in the world or the best choreographer in the world. I'm really good at making people feel great when they watch my choreography. I'm great at teaching people how to be great dancers, maybe not the best dancer in the world, right? And so you have to kind of choose. If you want to be the best dancer in the entire world, then the business side is going to struggle a little bit, right? But I think now all of my students from that generation that are Casey's age, getting into their mid-20s, they're starting to be like, okay, how do I turn this into something that does last into my 30s, 40s, 50s? If I have a family, that I can keep it going, even if I can't dance because I have kids, right? And starting to think outside the box. So the two things that I'm doing right now to hopefully help some with, at least in the dance community and artists in general, one is DNCR. You mentioned it earlier. It's an online dance education platform. We're finally, in the next couple weeks, launching an app version. And I'm going to be able to scale out two things. One, bring in more instructors regularly. So, you go teach a class at Millennium or one of the studios, and then you can come teach that combo virtually and kind of double up on the income, let's say, for a class that you're teaching for a fraction of the time. But the bigger piece of it is that we finally have a good affiliate program where if you're a teacher, instead of just coming in and getting paid to film for 30 minutes and teach your combo, you can have a link that's trackable and you can earn a percentage of whoever you bring to the platform in perpetuity. So they're paying whatever, $20 a month, you get half of it. If you bring in 500 people, you're making $5K a month for as long as they stay on the platform.
And back to your whole thing about get people to do the things that you're not either interested in or capable of or don't have the time to do. Yeah, you're giving up 50% of it. But people are doing the work for the other 50%.
Yeah.
And so you're getting it done.
And, people will be like, well, you only have to really give them 20%. You only have to, I'm like, I'm not here to be egregious. I want to see the dancers succeed. If a teacher comes to me and is like, man, I'm making $5K a month off of bringing people to your platform, I'm not going to be thinking, oh, I'm only making $5K a month. I'm going to be thinking like, holy crap, that's amazing. Tell everyone else, And I want the community to be rewarded. I don't necessarily need to nickel and dime dancers and teachers. I want them to be rewarded for the work they're putting in. I know how hard it is to choreograph, to teach, to build a following, to convince people to go take your class somewhere. And I know how many studios and conventions and things have taken advantage of me over the years and been like, yeah, we'll give you $500 and like, okay. And then I'm like, wait a second, I just brought 30 million people to your YouTube channel and this, and you filmed the thing and you put it everywhere and you this and that, and you guys paid me $500. Like, what the heck? Yeah. Don't worry about it, Yeah. And so I don't want to be that platform. And it's something that's taken a while to build out properly, but it's ready. So I really want teachers to feel like they have a home, and if they come and they teach here virtually, that they're rewarded for that, and they can build their community within the umbrella that is DNCR. So DNCR is transforming. Instead of being kind of like my platform, it's just going to be the umbrella. And Casey can teach and she can have her people, and someone else can teach tap or breakdancing or whatever, and they can have their people. And currently there's not an ecosystem for that.
Others have tried. I've seen it over the years, and they've none have made it. They've all failed.
Start it on your own is so difficult and expensive. And that's where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to start my own platform. I always encourage people, if they want to go down that path, to do it. But you need editors, you need a web guy, you need ads, you need a sales funnel, you need a community lead. It is a lot. So I'm really excited about bringing that to the dance community and opening that up. And the other thing is TikTok Shop. And the thing that is great about it is the affiliate system. So in the same way I mentioned we have a clothing company, it's an athletic leisure company. So everything is clothes that you can lounge in, you can dance in, you can work out in. And we're going to be offering the highest possible commission, somewhere between 20 and 30, but I think towards the higher end. And I'm going to be basically taking zero profit on that. I'm going to give the entire profit margin to the creator. So TikTok Shop, they have a really incredible system where basically you make a piece of content, you tag the clothing item, right? You can just be like, oh my God, I was dancing today, and look at how comfortable this is. The company is not just a clothing company, it's partnered with a mental health organization. And so a percentage of proceeds go to that, but all of the pieces too have something that is kind of a reminder for positive mental health. So like the hoodies on one of them, it says inhale and exhale. The company's called Mad Chill. So it's all about like breathing, relaxation, confidence. We have people coming in and doing like breathwork classes. We have people coming in and doing dance classes, fitness classes, physical health equals mental health.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. You can't have one without the other. They're symbiotic. So in creating that, we're going to bring in a lot of dancers, a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, a lot of fitness people that kind of align with the message to just make content around it and tag the item. And if they sell anything, they get a 20 to 30% commission. We've already had creators on some of the other products that we've worked with making absolutely insane amounts of money, like 10K on one video that just happens to go viral. My girlfriend actually has a nail company, and she's one of the biggest in the world, #1 on Amazon, Sephora, Ulta.
What's the name of
everywhere. It's called Glamnetic. She's doing incredible. She's really inspirational. And she's launched on TikTok Shop too. And seeing what she's been able to do for creators has been really inspiring too. And I have a few other friends with brands on there. And it's really incredible to see the power going back to the creators in this way. Because when you do a brand deal, it's like, hey, we're going to give you X amount, make the content, and then it's done. Which upfront is great, but you're always looking for the next brand deal, the next brand deal. The reason I love TikTok Shop and I love these shopping platforms is because it puts the power back in the creator's hands. And it says, look, you're not going to get anything up front. It's on you. But if this video goes viral and you start selling, you're going to get an insane, you're not getting like 1%. I'm talking 20% of an $80 item. Like real money, $16 per hoodie that you sell, or like, $5 per Swiffer sweeper thing that you sell, whatever, insert product here, right? And so it incentivizes these creators to build these networks of people that trust their opinion. And, creators like Casey, maybe she does dance content. Okay, well, she's wearing sweats and hoodies and stuff all the time. Why not put it in a thing and talk about it and use it as an extra stream of revenue along with her 5 other things that she has going? And then 5 years from now, it's like, oh, and I'm getting commissions here, and I got this here, and I got recurring from the tutorials I've been doing. Yeah. And then I do this choreography job, and my YouTube channel is monetized. And all of a sudden, you create this empire that's kind of just running on its own. And that's the goal,
that's what you've
right?
done.
That's what I've done, and I think that it's very attainable for other creators, but there need to be a few more things like TikTok Shop, like DNCR, that allow creators to build and really, truly receive recurring revenue from building, and not just these one-offs, because that's the trap
that
every artist gets into. Commission your painting. I'll buy your painting for $100,000. Great. Where's the next sale coming from, right?
Recurring revenue, subscription models, DNCR has been that till now, right? A subscription model for you, I think it was $17 a month, which is an incredible, deal for people that are going on and learn. Like if you had that when you were learning dance in your teen years,
absolutely,
that's
it's
a
less
no-brainer.
than one dance class,
right? Yeah, for sure. I want to just, kind of roll back to setbacks because, everybody experiences these. Everybody has those moments in time where they're really low, where, you're down to that last dollar in your bank, and this doesn't escape anybody. If you're in business, if you're building a business, if you're not a W-2 wage earner, if you are an entrepreneur in whatever field, you've experienced this. Yeah. Especially business owners. And you have these setbacks, and then the quicker you come out of them, the better off you are. And the more you learn how to deal with those, the better the more successful you become. And so, I've been an entrepreneur. I've only had 2 real jobs in my life where somebody else paid me and I got a W-2 for it. Other than that, I've been self-employed. And I kind of developed early on this real pragmatic way of when I'm faced with a problem, no matter how big or small, it's a lawsuit, it's something's not working, or it's money, or it's payroll, or whatever it is, I've developed this way of not dwelling in that moment, like not even for a moment. I immediately go to the future and think about where I need to get to and how I need to get to there. And so I go through this mental exercise that immediately puts me into the problem solving and puts me in a position where I go, okay, here's what we need to do, X, Y, Z. do this, do that, bring these components in, et cetera, and get to this point. And I've become so good at that through that exercise of all the things that have gone wrong along the way. And they continue to. Like, I'm not immune to it even at this point in my careers. But I've become so good at it that I can bounce back very quickly. And you've had those as well. And in fact, just before we went on camera here, we talked a little bit about, because I remember this moment in your life, because I saw you, I think, the next week, and I asked my wife, I go, what happened to Matt? He's got this big, like black eye. And she told me the story about it. And you said, look, that happened, and you recorded this, this video, and we have it up here, but you recorded this video from, I think, the hospital room that night it happened, and you said you hadn't even talked about that again until, was it a week ago?
Yeah.
And so I brought this up just because it was, this was something that it had an impact on me, and I was like, man, you look like hell, but you're working. It's like, what? He's still working. And I think your face was broken. You passed over. It was to the left. That's it right there. Oh, no, it isn't.
No, that's...
Hang on. No, keep going. There it is.
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers. If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
That's it. Do you need to get back to somebody?
So I'm in the ER right now. I got attacked tonight outside of the wedding I was attending. My guy, he knows who I am, apparently. I have no idea who he is. I was looking down at my phone, calling an Uber, and he came up, no words, just blindsided me, jumped on me, he kept trying to hit me. I got some stitches, a few broken bones in my face, not feeling too hot right now, but the reason I'm making this video is because he's a father, he's a husband, and his wife is pregnant. And I'm a grown man, like I can take a punch, I'll be okay. But for him to do something potentially like this to his wife, to his kids, it's unspeakable. So just let this be a reminder to watch out for each other, take care of each other. If you think somebody might be in a situation that's potentially dangerous, look out for them. I love you guys. Hopefully I'll be back.
Thanks, Mike.
Dancing soon.
Dude, that was pretty brave of you to go on camera that night after that happened. But I thought that was so crazy, even at the time, because, I don't know who you told, like, right then, but somehow my wife knew and had told me, like, hey, maybe she saw this video. Maybe that's what it was. She says, yeah, it wasn't even somebody he knew. He just came up behind you and just...
Yeah.
Like, had an impact really for your whole life. You said that even today, it bothers you. Like, you broke bones in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a huge setback, and you immediately went into like, well, I still got to work.
Yeah.
Like I think you said it was like the next day or 2 days later you started working again.
Yeah. Well, I was supposed to teach a dance workshop the next morning after this happened, and I've never, in 15 years of teaching on the road, I've never canceled a workshop for any reason. So the doctor was like, you literally can't dance. Like every bone in the right side of your face is completely broken. And I was like, well, I guess I have to make a video because I'm not going to just not show up and be like, oh, I got attacked last night. Like, what kind of excuse is that, So I was like, well, they'll know I'm not lying. I still showed up at the class the next day with sunglasses on, looking like that.
Crazy.
And I had sunglasses on. And what's funny is I hadn't thought about this in a long time. And I ran into a girl a few weeks ago, actually at a wedding. And she was like, do you remember where I met you? And I was like, no, I don't. And she was like, at the workshop the day after you got attacked. And she's like, you said like you had a little bit of an incident and, you couldn't really dance, but you still showed up and like taught us the choreography kind of. And like, we were all like, what's the deal? And then we all saw the video of you the next day.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we thought he got like he tripped and fell. I didn't want to be like, guys, I got jumped and my face is shattered and whatever, But, it's one of those things like, in the moment, what can you do? Like it's happened, it's done. I didn't want to let people down. I'm pretty private in general, but I do feel like there's times to be authentic. You know, I think if you are too vulnerable too often, it's a little bit like crying wolf.
Yeah.
But if you use it at the right times to really make an impact, and everything I said there is true. The guy was a husband. He had one kid. His wife was pregnant. He had a history of abuse. Like, I was not the first person that he did this to, you know. And so,
did you ever find out why?
I have some reasons, some theories that I'm not gonna say because I don't know if they're true. But yeah, I didn't know him. I actually made a full video on this that's gonna be coming out soon.
Okay.
But he after he hit me, and I didn't go unconscious, thank God. But he was trying to get on top of me, and I think he probably would have killed me because he's about 300 pounds and he was drunk, and he just was like, but as he was on top of me, he was like yelling at me like, "Oh, how's that feel, pretty boy? Like, oh, your dance moves don't look so good now. All the girls think he's so cool. Like, how's this feel?" Like it was targeted for sure. And so I think it was just some crazy, like clearly has mental issues because I didn't know the guy, you know. Didn't know anything about him. So, you know, it was crazy. I think that the mental toll too that something like that takes on you is kind of, I didn't realize it in the moment, but you know, I was in Miami the other day and I was walking down the sidewalk and I just felt like energy behind me. And I just turned around and like looked, and there was a guy walking behind me, and you know, he was just like a normal dude. He was like, "Oh, sorry, bro." But like he realized he was kind of being creepy by accident.
Yeah.
You know, but I felt the energy and I was like, "Nope, you know, not again." And I was like, I know that that's from that. Like,
that's right, for
no,
sure.
For the rest of my life, nobody's walking behind me that I don't know or trust, you know? And so like, you know, it's interesting the kind of things that teaches you. But you talk about resilience, and, you know, I look at moments like that, whether it's, you know, I had a moment in my car that I talk about in the other video where I almost packed it up and went home from LA when no one showed up to my dance class and I was running out of money. And it is one of those things sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to be like, all right, let's give it one more real fucking go.
Yeah.
You know, let's double down. Let's go even hard. One more week? Why not? Let's see what happens. And sometimes when you hit a low moment like that, it causes you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do, you know.
But you have to understand that is a tremendous personality trait. And this was one example of it. And, you know, almost running out of money and wanting to pack up and go home is another example. And I think for people to just recognize that everybody has that experience, and it's how you deal with it and how you come out of it that's going to make you different and have an impact for your entire life. And you're a real living example of that. And I wanted to get that across to everybody. Like, it's not been like straight up. You weren't one of those guys that won the lotto at 17 and you're like, "Hey, I'm set. You know, everybody knows who I am." Like, you've worked really hard at it and you've been really smart. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you have so much more in store. So, hey, man, we could probably rip another hour here easily, but you're a busy guy and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. If people want to get involved with DNCR or, you know, any of the new things that you're coming up with, how do they reach you? What's the best way to reach Matt?
Yeah. If it's about DNCR, booking at dncr.com is kind of our booking info email. Also, you know, you can DM me. DMs are a little hard to track these days on Instagram, but all my socials at Matt Steffanina. If it's crypto related, DM me on Twitter. Twitter is where all the crypto stuff goes down.
Perfect.
But yeah, man, thanks so much for having me on. You know, Casey's been such a blessing in my life. As a teacher, I just couldn't be more grateful to have students and now friends, now that she's grown up, you know, like her. And I have so much respect for everything that she's done. So it's an honor to get to sit down with you for a little bit of time.
Well, I know that she looks up to you too, Matt. You've been an inspiration to many. And thanks again for joining today on The Blueprint, the real Matt Steffanina. And look, guys, if we brought you value today, if you want to hear more great stories like Matt's, tune in again for our next edition and next episode. And thanks for joining us today on The Blueprint.